Coming up today, ladies and gentlemen, PS5 set to make our wallets cry.
CD Projekt Red makes us buy a console we don't really want anymore.
That's a pretty good headline in and of itself. Let's get to the drop. So Sam, how are you handling your quarantine?
I'm doing well. I'm playing Resident Evil 7 actually at the moment. You know how we used to every Saturday say, what are you playing this week? I'm playing Res 7 this week in a dark, dingy room while I'm quarantining. And it's pretty scary, actually. I'm about halfway through, and I am thoroughly enjoying it. So that's how I'm getting through my quarantine. What are you doing, Ralph? Or do I want to know? Do I want to know, everybody? Do I really want to know? Ugh,
I'm playing Fallout 76. So if you're
I didn't want to know
worse than that, then exactly right. Exactly right. I feel so dirty.
God.
But look, we're all coping in different ways when it comes to the Peroni pandemic, and video games is definitely an industry that is quite affected. Things are really kind of shutting down right now when it comes to video games. We definitely have had a situation where a lot of major games have been delayed. Last of Us 2, for example, has been delayed indefinitely. Like, we legitimately do not know when that game is being released. Behind the scenes, there are rumors that many other games that were to be announced are just not getting announced. They're getting held back. And that we will soon hear about more delays in the future. So it's definitely hitting video games where it hurts.
It also hurts other areas of the body, okay? Toilet paper, man, that is expensive, okay? It's the most expensive it has been right now. A lot of people are installing bidets, or just they're thanking their lucky stars if they got those showers that like come off the wall, you know? Anyway, we won't get more detail than that, okay?
No,
but all we know is a lot of shit's happening, no pun intended. So it might even affect upcoming console releases, right? Now, we already spoke about this. We weren't sure about it, but we were speculating. But hey, we were thinking it's either going to cause a delay or cause a shortage on consoles. And it looks like that is actually what is happening.
I think at first everyone was imagining that this was a production capacity issue, which is that China right now is kind of shut down. They're not making things. They're just restarting their economy. But like for the last few months, nothing has been made, which creates this very big backlog for production. And everyone's like, we can expect fewer PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X units as a result of that. Turns out that isn't quite true, according to this Bloomberg report. Quote, Sony Corp plans to produce far fewer units of its upcoming PlayStation 5 in its first year than it had for the previous generation console's launch, according to people familiar with the matter. The Tokyo-based tech giant is limiting its initial production run in part because it expects the PS5's ambitious specs to weigh on demand by leading to a high price at launch, the people said. Asking not to be identified because the subject is private, the global COVID-19 pandemic has affected Sony's promotional plans for the new device, but not its production capacity, they added.
That's interesting, because I actually thought it was going to be the production capacity. I really did. But look, we are seeing less. We are seeing less now. The original PlayStation 4, when it came out in the first 2 quarters, it did sell 7.5 million copies, everybody. Now, they're anticipating in the first 4 months of the actual console release, if it is released in December, that we're going to see between 1.5 or 2.5 million less. We're going to see between 5 and 6 million consoles compared to the previous generation. We saw 7.5 million. So it's not a gigantic loss, but it is still sizable. That is smaller than the previous one, and gaming is bigger now. More people want to play games. So
correct. This is a bigger thing. Populations are larger, interest in gaming is larger, etc. So for them to be planning to ship less, and just to be super clear, it's not because they can't make more. Apparently they can make more. It's about the fact that they expect it to be more expensive, and therefore that people will not want to buy it, especially with the current global circumstances, I'm guessing. And so they're going to make fewer consoles because they expected to sell fewer, right? So they actually speak about this specifically when they talk about how much is it likely to cost, the PlayStation 5. The PS5's loftier price tag may also deter initial take-up. Games developers who have been creating titles for next-gen PlayStation anticipate its price to be in the region of $499 to $549, and Bloomberg Intelligence Matthew Catterman points to increased component costs pushing up the price required for Sony to break even. Sony has struggled with its price-setting decision for the PS5 because of scarce components, Bloomberg News has reported. So you can actually see a really interesting chart here that actually shows how much memory costs and storage costs for the next-gen consoles. And that's, memory and storage are kind of like commodities at this point. You can kind of like see how much they cost in the global marketplace, and you can just add that price to the PlayStation or the Xbox, and you know what it's going to be at a base, right? So there, it's almost over $250 just for those 2 components.
Yeah.
And then there's everything else. So what they're really saying here is that this is going to be a pricier console than what we were thinking it might be, and as a result, Sony's going to make less of them.
But there is some good news, everybody. Now, there is hope that they may be bringing this price down and losing money for us. Isn't PlayStation good people? Now, this is what the quote says. I think both the PS5 and Xbox Series X may end up at US $450, even though they would be losing money at that price, said Damien Thong at the analyst at Macquarie Capital. So that does make sense though, because we've seen it before with other consoles where they lower the price and they know they'll make their money back in actual buying of games. The console's never really made to, at the beginning at least, it's not really made there. It's not really there to make money, is it? It's really there to get everyone into the install base, then make money off those games.
And just to be clear on that quote, they're talking about the price coming down over time. They're not talking about it launching at $450. They are talking about it slowly setting at or arriving at around $450 once the component price sort of settles out and, you know.
Well, that's less exciting.
That is less exciting, but still it's something.
Yeah.
It's still something. The article does go on to say that Sony plans to invest more and more in the PlayStation 4, keeping that alive, releasing games on both systems, maybe discounting the cost of the hardware, focusing on their subscription services, all that sort of stuff, which makes a lot of sense. You can expect that that's what they would do. But look, I think the takeaway is that if you really want a next-gen console, you probably better pre-order it ASAP, because it looks like stock is going to be very limited. I know everyone's like, don't pre-order games, and I think that's true, but I think with consoles it's a bit different. Like, I don't believe that the PlayStation 5 is going to be the PlayStation 5 for the next 5 or 6 years. Do you know what I mean? And if it's not quite working right at launch, well then you'll send it back and get a new one. It's a much safer purchase than, say, buying Fallout 76 at launch. Do you know what I mean?
I think the only question is, like, what games are coming out in the first, 6-12 months?
Sure.
That's the only question you should be asking, But look, it is interesting. Speaking of that, okay, this is a terrible segue, but leaks, man. It's all about leaks. This works quite well. Amazon Canada, everybody. Okay, now I knew there was going to be maybe something for Cyberpunk 2077 in terms of, some sort of special edition something, okay? I was hoping it was going to be cool, and this looks very, very cool. Now, we do have a leaked controller listing on Amazon Canada showing what the controller's going to look like for Cyberpunk 2077 when it is released. Look at this right now. I've got it on the screen. It looks absolutely beautiful.
Well, Sam, prepare to have your mind blown, because if you think that looks good, wait until you see what's coming next. Xbox actually released a tweet sort of like highlighting or sort of hinting at what was coming next. It was a code that had asked people to crack, and even though it wasn't yet cracked, the news was revealed after that, and it was, Sam, what was it?
I'm pretending to not know, or I am knowing. So this is us acting right now. Okay.
You're pretending to not know.
Oh my god, what is it, Ralph? Tell me. I really want to know. Is it a console, potentially?
You guessed it, Sam. It's a new console,
Fair point.
Xbox One X Series, Xbox One console. It's the current gen console. It's not next gen. But can I say, this is a pretty nice looking console.
It looks amazing.
I kind of want to get this, even though I have zero use for a last gen Xbox. If they were doing this with next gen Series X, can you imagine how much this would sell?
Oh, I know.
Shit.
I mean, maybe they... Oh, you know what? Like, I don't think we've ever seen a console release and they do special editions straight away, right? They really just want the initial design to settle down, which is understandable.
Don't forget though that there is going to be a later release of Cyberpunk on next gen systems, like a proper update later.
And they're going to make you pay for that. Okay, they're going to make you pay for that, guys, because CD Projekt Red sucks. They're jerks. Am I right, Ralph?
That's right, they're the worst.
No, actually, you actually get it, guys. If you've already bought the game, you get it again. So, yet again, CD Projekt Red, not bad, those guys. Not bad at all.
So either way, look, it's a very sexy console. I don't think we can get it, maybe. Probably won't even come to Australia. What's the bet it doesn't even arrive here?
Come on, CD Projekt Red, we say good things about you. Send it to our address, please, okay?
Guys, that's the news for today. We're off for the rest of the weekend. You have a great weekend, and we will see you back on Monday. Laymen out.